Are you expecting a huge windfall for business?
Good morning, Laura. Look, I tell you what, it's a big old news week, isn't it? There's plenty going on, as you've just been covering. Look, what I think is great about this, frankly, is we can debate about whether it should have happened earlier or what else should have happened. The positive is the rest of the economy is doing reasonably well. If we kind of add Victoria back to the mix finally, hopefully it's a bit of a boost for the national economy. So, yeah, look, I think we will see people rush back to the shops, at least to the degree they're allowed to, and we'll see how big or small that becomes. But certainly, I think, look, if you're an optimist, and I am, the half glass full view is that growth and success elsewhere can now be added to by Victoria, which obviously fantastic news for Victorians themselves, and that's probably the most important part given the past few months, but also really good news for the national economy and the national picture.
Yeah, absolutely. When you're looking at 1,200 jobs a day being lost in Victoria, according to figures over the last couple of months, costing the economy around $200 million a day, it'll be good to see that bounce back. On Wall Street, it closed about 15 minutes ago. It's been a pretty hectic day. Do you expect this to affect our market when it opens?
Yeah, no, it definitely will, Laura. I mean, the US market gives us our lead, unfortunately, in this case, because it wasn't a good night on Wall Street. Big falls on the Nasdaq and the NYSE. It really, combination of COVID and frankly, they're having much less success there financially, economically, health-wise, and the upcoming presidential election. We're going to see big swings on both those bits of news over the next 7 days. So you're going to have to really buckle in for that one. The sentiment is really driving the result. There was nothing meaningful in numbers overnight that should have given us that sort of fall. Equally, there wouldn't have been if there was that sort of rise, and we've seen big rises as well in different weeks. So look, no, this is very much a volatility story, and frankly, for at least the next 7 days pre-election, and then potentially beyond that, we really should expect more volatility on our market based largely on what's happening in the US.
There's plenty happening in the business world. What do you make of the takeover of Coca-Cola Amatil? It's talked about in terms of $10 billion. It's not small fry. Are there a lot of Australian shareholders of Coca-Cola Amatil?
Yeah, there are. So the Coca-Cola company, literally the brand behind the business, owns, I think, about 30% of Coke, give or take, or Coca-Cola Amatil, I should say, to be clear. The rest owned by retail shareholders and institutional shareholders. So if we think about, the impact on our market, it's a fascinating one because the price is a good jump. It's 50% or so above where shares were only 3 months ago. It's also, though, below the pre-COVID highs. And so to some degree, you look at that number and say, well, our Coke shareholders being richly rewarded for waiting, I guess, on one level. Again, if you've held over 3 months, that's a nice 50% return in a quarter of a year.
Yep.
On the flip side, are they getting a good deal? Probably they are, because, again, pre-COVID, and if we assume, Coke, of all things, goes back to normal at some point, we all keep drinking Coke, I dare say the Europeans have got a decent deal out of this. Australian shareholders probably, again, happy in the short term. In the long term, the value may well accrete over there rather than here.
I reckon Paul Murray will single-handedly keep Coca-Cola alive. The $10 billion man, we can call him.